How is everybody doing today? We are giving you some thoughts and opinions on the Bob-Long Onslaught. And I feel like this marker doesn't get the credit that it deserves. And like a lot of Bob-Long guns, just because of who came out with it. So we'll start at the bottom, work our way up, talk about the bolt, shot quality, efficiency. Yeah, so cam drive ASA. I like the cam drive ASA. It's super simple, just this twist knob. There's only two things that I really need out of an ASA, and I feel like all companies should be doing it, but they don't. It's got to be easy to turn when my hands are greasy, covered in paint, lube from taking care of my bolt, whatever. It needs to be easy to turn on, easy to turn off. I do not like ASAs where you have to spin the little knob over and over again to get it to engage. It's difficult when your hands are slick. My second requirement for an ASA is that it purges itself. Yeah, everyone should be doing that, and this gun has those features in the ASA, so no big deal. The board, I like the board. The board is super simple. There's not a whole lot to mess with. It has the features you want, but what I don't like is that you have to turn the gun off to mess with the settings. So on a gun like this, and there are quite a few guns like this, but you have to hold the trigger down, turn the board on, and it will go into settings mode, adjust your settings, turn the board off, turn it back on, and you can start using it. Guns like Planet Eclipse don't make you do that. You can just mess with your settings. When you're like dwell tuning or LPR tuning, not really things you have to do with this gun, but I like to be able to mess with my settings and really quickly just be able to start shooting it over the chrono. It's just a little nitpicky thing, but with high-end guns, I think you have to be a little nitpicky because most of them are pretty good. Move on to the trigger. I like that it comes with a deuce trigger. I'm a big fan of deuce triggers. Deuce triggers, for me, put my fingers in a good spot to walk the trigger. I really have to think about like where my fingers are positioned on that trigger because the way it's shaped, you know, puts them where they need to be for me. Some people don't like deuce triggers. Now, with the Insight and Onslaught, the trigger spring is giving people some runaway issues where like you press the trigger and it would fire multiple shots. It would activate the micro switch multiple times. My gun doesn't have the trigger spring in it, and that's how I got it, because I bought it used. And it's still, even without that trigger spring, it's a snappy trigger. It's maybe a little light on the pull, but good trigger. I like Bob-Long triggers. One of the biggest things about this gun and the Insight that it's based off of is that it doesn't have an LPR like the VCOM, the VIS, the G6R, older Bob-Long guns. I like that it doesn't have an LPR. It makes it simple. And I think simplicity for the general population of people that play paintball is important. And guns should just be easy to work on. For people who know how to balance regs and stuff, the VCOM VIS Victory platform is incredible. And I'll recommend it any day of the week. But for people who don't have experience with those things, I think something like this works better for them. Clampy feed neck. It's a clampy feed neck. It's easy. Hold your hopper on. Sometimes people have issues with Bob-Long feed necks coming off during aggressive play, and I've never had that issue, but you know, Field 1 and now HK, who's taking over the Victory platform, they're putting the proper adjustments to the feed neck so it can't come off. And I think that's needed. If people are having issues with them, even just a handful of people, that's enough to warrant a change. What else? I'm going to pop open these eye covers because there's something about this gun in the eye covers I am not a fan of. And sorry you have to watch this, it's kind of boring. we'll do it quick. Eye covers. Just like any other eye covers. Nice and easy. I mean, there are some guns that are a lot more expensive right now that are toolless, but I don't mind having to deal with the screw. What I don't like is the detent. I don't like the spring. I don't know if you can see that. The spring is easy to lose. I've lost it on other Bob Long guns. And here's the detent. Probably can't see that either. But the spring basically sits in the back of the detent. There's nothing that holds the detent really into the body of the gun, and I think just other companies have refined that better. I feel like this gun's relatively new, that there's just other systems that work a little better, and I wish Bob Long would have taken some, I don't know, cues from what other people in the market are doing with the design of the detents. Some people with this gun also had issues with the eyes, and the solution that was being taken from the factory was to Sharpie over the eyes. And I don't know, I wish they would have come up with a more elegant solution to that. Or the fact that people were having to buy 4C eyes before they came up with that solution. I mean, I don't know, I haven't had any problems with them being Sharpied, but I think, I don't know if that means that maybe the gun wasn't tested as well as it should have been before it came out, but it seemed like a pretty common issue. Now, we'll move into the bolt system. And my gripe about this bolt system. So you see there's this pin here. You push that pin in, and then you don't have anything to grab onto here. You don't have anything to grab onto and pull this out. Like, I kind of got to wiggle it out. Like, these are just little things that aren't that big of a deal, but this is a nuisance. Like, I just wish I could. There's no other gun that's that difficult to pull the toolless bolt out. I wish they would have done something different. Like, even the Insight that came out before this gun was easier to pull the bolt out. So the bolt. Here she is. Now, this bolt is spring assisted, and a lot of people put springs in their Insight to deal with things like first shot drop off, and I like that it's spring assisted. I've been shooting this right around freezing, below freezing, not having any issues. I did up my dwell to 14 in the board because that was recommended to me, and at 14 I've had 0 issues with the gun. As cold as it's been, I'm really happy with it, the reliability wise. Now, the bolt head, they originally came with, I believe, Exalt tips. It was a different bolt. This has the VCOM pillow bolt in it, and you'll see that based on the little rubber piece inside there. That'd be the pillow. The pillow bolt is nice for this gun because the original tips would shoot off, and you can't use it. It's just not soft enough on paint if that tip's not on there. So people were putting Mac Dev tips on the front or switching to the VCOM bolt. Mine came with this VCOM bolt or the pillow bolt when I bought it, and I like it. As far as softness on paint, it's pretty darn soft on paint. For some weird reason, I had a case of Redemption Pro here, and it's been winter time, and yeah, this gun probably broke a few more balls than other guns like the Clone GTI that I shoot. That gun is insanely soft on paint. So I don't really have any knocks on this gun as far as its paint handling. It does a good job. We will now break into this, and I think this is where people look at this, and for some reason, or people are just stereotyping Bob Long guns and say that it's complicated with springs and bits and bobs, and so this is the rammer piece. It just unthreads from the bolt. I think it's called the rammer piece. Don't quote me on that. Here's the bolt. Maintenance on that is you just put a drop of oil on each O-ring. Super simple. Here is the ram. I'm going to call it the ram. Hope that's right. Here is the shutoff. And that's it. That's the inside of the Onslaught. It is insanely simple. There's like 4 O-rings on that piece. There's a couple O-rings in the inside of the shutoff. And those are the dynamic seals. That's pretty much it. I mean, so it's super quick to lube up. There's no big deal. I didn't use any tools. Sometimes you might need a little Allen key to get in the back of that to unthread it from the bolt head, but it's really simple. Now, the design does use quite a bit of lube, and I don't know. It's just like if you're shooting cases and cases of paint, yeah, it can become a little bit of an annoyance to have to lube more often. Like, it's not the simplicity of something like the Geo platform for a spool valve, or like a G-Tech, where you don't have to lube it, like, or if you neglect it like crazy, it's still going to work. But it's not anything complicated here. It's, you just take care of your gun every day you play, and it's just going to work for you. So there's the bolt. And let's talk shot quality efficiency, because that's what makes these guns. Efficiency numbers are some of the best for spool valves. I can't think of a whole lot of guns that are up there with the Onslaught. You know, maybe like the Clone 5 is getting close. The Geos shoot like, 10 pods, but I mean, off a 77 fill, there was an efficiency test by your PB friend, and they were getting like 15, and I don't shoot enough paint that fast between like fills to really notice going through something like 12 pods, but I feel like this gun can do it, and that's awesome, because the only other guns that are pulling that off are poppets, really, and the shot quality on here is just great. It is incredibly smooth. So if you like spool valve guns, as far as efficiency goes, it's a real good bet for you. I'll pop this bolt back in. Shot quality. A lot of people are crazy about like the Geo 3 platform, and I had a Geo 3 IV core, and this gun was just flat out smoother and about the same sound level, but just flat out smoother in the hands. And it's light. It's one of the lighter high-end spool valve guns. If I was going to compare the shot quality to something, this is what I would compare it to. And this is a poppet gun, but it's a smooth poppet gun. This is the LV platform. People have shot the LV platform for a long time, and I think it's very comparable. There's not a whole lot else to say. I mean, my LV1 is, this is an LVR, but mine is tuned down for a smoother shot, like according to the guide. The SFRs are turned down, and the LPRs turned down quite a bit from stock, but they're pretty comparable, and this is a smooth gun. So yeah, hopefully I'm gonna be able to do a shooting video before too long, or before it leaves my hands, because this is going to a new home here soon. Yeah, the Onslaught, I think it's vastly underrated. I think if you get one that has like the pillow bolt already in it, that it has some fix to the eyes. Of course, the eyes are great, but they're kind of spendy for fixing a problem with a gun that came from the factory. So the eyes, the bolt, it shoots great. It is super efficient, and I think it deserves more credit. So get out there, shoot one of these bad boys, and let me know what you think. And maybe it'll be the right gun for you.